so Dungeons and Dragons turns 50 this year, which is really, really cool. So what does it feel like looking back on that legacy, and how it's evolved over the last 5 decades?
Yeah, it was really interesting to think about the very humble roots of D&D and how it was a niche, game that no one expected to be popular. Mm-hmm. And in fact, even when it gained popularity, people looked at it suspiciously. Or if you played it, there was something wrong with you.
The Satanic Panic?
Yeah, well, yes. In the Satanic Panic, that was a little bit more, that was an outward, like, that's blatantly bad. But other people were just like, and like, oh, they're the odd folk who, And so now to see this switch come around in the past, probably 15 years, I would say, something like that. It went from being not cool to, yeah, okay, that's all right, to it's a desirable thing. And that's pretty strange.
I was watching a Publix commercial this morning, actually getting ready, and like, it's like, find your fans. And it has like 4 kids playing tabletop. Like there really is this shift.
Yeah. It's now cool. And it's funny because you would want to hide it. When I was growing up in the 80s, even if you were a gamer and it's what you did, you'd probably want to hide it because if you wanted to actually talk to a girl, or just not maybe get picked on or something by people. They just didn't understand it because they saw these thick books and they go, that's a really weird thing. What I think helped so much is anytime you can see the game played, it clicks, right? And with the internet and the ability of YouTube and other channels to transmit games visually to people, they instantly get it. Because everybody's played Cops and Robbers. Everybody's played Pretend. So you get it. You go, oh, I get it now. And when then you roll, that's what the dice are for. I understand. That looks like fun. And it allows you to be a kid again. Everybody likes to play. People like to play and tell stories. And D&D kind of incorporates those in a fun way where you get to be social with your friends. And I think the added benefit of it as a young person is you get to learn a lot of skills, and also you can kind of explore facets of your personality in a pretty much consequence-free environment and see what works for you and what doesn't. My preparation for that has been the last, 16 years.
Yeah.
People have asked me, running GaryCon, and people, I've gotten to learn. Running GaryCon has been a wonderful experience for me because I've gotten an opportunity to become friends with a lot of the people that my dad worked with who knew me maybe as a child, but I got to reconnect with them as adults and have conversations about what they did and their role, and understood better how they affected gaming and that sort of thing. And so I've formed friendships with all those folks and heard directly from them what was going on. So not only did I read books and talk to guys who wrote the books like John Peterson, Mike Whitwer, and other D&D historians, I've talked to the sources, chatted with them over a beer about things. And that's kind of really been my prep for the 50 years of D&D, besides being there for some of it, right? And it's been really great. Now the panel was a lot of fun. It was a good time. I think honestly, and I have a tendency to do this just like probably Bill and so many people, we were a little loose in our presentation. It probably could have been a little more structured and it had an agenda and maybe hit some of those major beats that we didn't touch upon, really much like the Satanic Panic and the kind of bankruptcy of TSR and the being taken over by Wizards, and then being taken over by Wizards of the Coast and Third Edition and then moving over to Hasbro, and kind of how that's affected the game, as well as some of the evolution of D&D from its wargaming roots through, some of the, 1E was still kind of wargaming roots. 3E was a lot more complex with math and stuff. And then we kind of added in a lot more role playing. Then 5E, I think, is less rules and less competitive and less wargamery and maybe leaning more towards story. And what's funny about all that is it's been 50 years now, right? It's a long time. There's now games hearkening back to the roots of like first edition D&D, right? And young players are like, wow, I never knew D&D could be like this. and it's funny because what's old is new again. And I guess it just shows the cyclical nature of human history, right?
To touch on that, I'm actually playing my first tabletop ever. I just started learning the last 2 years. And so one thing that's been very helpful to me is that kind of being more role-playing heavy
Mm-hmm.
and shift of it being more inclusive for
Sure.
like you see that it's being like more diverse and like
Mm-hmm.
more queer. Like, and so like, so that's actually been what's been very helpful for me.
I think it was always there.
It was
just
always
wasn't
there.
talked about
Yeah.
because in society you didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
So I think you're a younger person.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah. So, in the 70s and 80s, it wasn't okay to be gay, right? Pretty much. Or if you were, you didn't discuss it too much outside of your family, some close friends and things like that. But there was plenty of designers who were, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my dad knew them, and it's just something that wasn't discussed, right? So it was there. In diversity, it's great to see all sorts of different people playing D&D from all over the place. But I guess it came out of the Midwest in the 70s. And so that was, he was a predominantly, it's a kind of a rural area. It's a resort town, but it's still 6,000 people in southeastern Wisconsin. So the population there was mostly white guys.
Mm.
So, and wargamers tended to lean more towards probably kind of bookish middle-aged guys.
Kind of on that though, because like as we look back in the last 50 years, I'm a very firm believer that nothing is perfect.
Oh no.
And so where do you think that maybe not just Dungeons and Dragons, but tabletop in general, where do you think that it could still improve going forward for the next 50 years?
How could it improve more? Well, I think the things that we would want to do is be careful about how much we want to automate things in tabletop. I think part of the charm of tabletop is being with people face to face without screens and other things. So just like I think screens are as useful as props or terrain and miniatures and things like that. They're much more portable, right? If you do it in a VTT or even some of the cool ones that do like 3D stuff on the table, right? But to an extent, they also can limit your imagination. And I think what's beautiful about role-playing games is that you're unleashing your imagination, just like reading or painting a picture in your mind. And those are skills that we need to continue to develop. Being able to be creative, being able to tell stories, being able to imagine. I think that's important. So we should foster those roots and use technology in good ways to enhance that, but not try to replace it. As far as rules and things like that go, it's going to change with how culture is and what people are looking for in their day to day. So I think that'll evolve with society, and we'll see various things change. So I think that's less important, but keeping the human element and the storytelling and the cooperative aspects are what's going to make it cool.
I actually have agreed with that because like, I'm here actually with one of my table mates and we've been working he lives in California and I live on the side of the planet. This side.
Side of the continent. Yeah.
And we're meeting for the first time and we've been working together for years and we really bonded through like playing together. So technology is in a way like is what's connecting us all. And it is a different kind of game. Like we do very much theater of the mind because we don't have a physical table. But I think the benefits, as you were saying, with technology really does help because it helps like when people see stuff like Critical Role.
Yeah. Huge.
And it has shifted from being so misunderstood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you can see it. Where technology is helpful is I'm making up a character and I can have a super complex system where if you know athletics and you have a wrestling skill and you've had both those in your background and you're doing some sort of hand-to-hand, oh yeah, you get 15% bonus here and a 3% bonus for this. And it kind of calculates all that stuff and gives you one score. So you don't have to do it by hand, right? So that'd be great, right? And looking up rules and that sort of stuff, fantastic. But I don't want it to replace the DM. I don't think AI DMs are a good idea. I don't want to see those sorts of things, But yeah, technology is great for doing like the boring grunt work.
Would have been really useful for you, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Right? Yeah, for sure. Or Dangerous Journeys that my dad did, which was a very complex system.
I'm familiar with that one.
It's a terrible story. So
yeah,
when he lost the company, TSR, he made another game system. And the second biggest company in the world at that time, Game Designers Workshop, he published it. As soon as they printed it all out, it was in the warehouse, ready to be released. TSR filed an injunction saying, you thought of those ideas when we were working. And so it got buried. So it got buried and they had to settle it. It never saw the light of day, really, right? Yeah, but it was a very complex system that did a lot of those things I was alluding to, where you have various skills, and they were called. You would have steep points: skills, training, experience, something else, and practice, or whatever it was. And so your steep points, essentially percentile based basis, and you might get 2% of this or 5% of that. So it's a lot of calculations. Making a character could take 6 hours. So it's super complex. With an app, like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I used to like to play a lot more just because that was what I was more comfortable doing. And DMing can be anxiety producing, right? Because holy smokes, I got to do the whole thing and people are relying on me. Are they going to have fun? But as you do it more, just like anything else, you become relaxed. You have fun. I DM a game at conventions all over the world. Super fun. I write adventures and run them. I ran on Gen Con TV. Can I say that? On Gen Con TV during their 50th anniversary celebration, I ran the 1A game. I drafted a new module or new adventure and ran that. That was super fun. But it's good stuff.